Hi guys, this is Sydney. So as you can see, I'm outside. I'm at a cafe. So please be aware of the noise that you may hear. And I was feeling called to share this message with you guys. Just before I was connecting with the water at the lake, and then I was feeling called to share a message, so I recorded briefly. And then when I got into the cafe and sat down, I started to get more. So I feel called to re-record. So let's see how that goes. So I'm going to allow myself to flow through whatever that message that may come out for me to share for those of you who are going to resonate and connect and need this information at this time for your soul evolution or journey, however you resonate with these words right now. It's all unique for everyone, so you will know best where you are. So just yesterday I received a lot of information, and I was guided to connect with all different indigenous groups and their energies all together, all at once, suddenly. And I've been connecting with these energies for the past month, and even more, like past 6 months, from here and there, here and there. And then all of a sudden, everything came together just yesterday. So my spirit team, Source, and Gaia, they had me connect with all these different cultures and indigenous, especially the dance and singing. And through that, I was connecting with their energies. And so what came through especially was the Polynesian, so-called Polynesian countries right now. So I'm using the name or the term countries or certain words at this time. And what I had to also learn was all these names of certain countries. These are all named after someone who was recorded as the person who discovered this land, who was a Westerner or European. So it was really interesting for me to learn that. And so I don't know what the original name of that land or how it was being called by the indigenous tribes there. But the names we call are all based on, like, for example, I suddenly got curious where did Mount Everest, that I have been connecting to very heavily the past month and very week more intensely the last week. And then it was named after this Western, so-called Western or Caucasian or white or European, however you resonate with these words at this time. It's all just for communication purposes. His last name was Everest, so it was named after that. But there was all this sound resonance that had been lost by all this, like, the so-called, what's his name, Columbus, who discovered the land of America. But that was what we learned in history, and that had been spread out. But in actuality, the Native Americans, what I learned that they're saying or re-educating people is that he got shipwrecked or he got lost and he was lost in the land of North America, and then the Native Americans discovered him. You see, it's a completely different story. So all the stories that we've been cultured, educated with, that have been programming us, was all based on this to perceive certain race as more superior. That is so-called the Caucasian or the white the Westerners, the Europeans, for many hundreds of years in the age of darkness experimentation. So a lot of other indigenous cultures or all this like rituals were considered savage, uncultured, dirty, something of that nature. So for example, like in a lot of the Indian or Southeast Asian or even like Middle Eastern, African, they used hands to eat their food a lot of the times. But in European culture, you got to use the knife. There are table manners, and you have to use the fork and knife in a proper way, and you have to sit proper, look a certain way, and you have to do this if you're an aristocrat and you were being taught. And so it got rid of all this like our natural instinct and connecting with our own body. So what I learned was that there's like a purpose in Ayurveda, and also there's a reason why people used to eat with their hands is when you touch the food, you start to connect with what you are eating and you start to feel, and it activates the digestive system or something like that, and then it helps you connect with the food and then when to stop and how you enjoy and feel the food and all that stuff. So allowing you to be present and in connection with what you were eating in the moment, that helps you feel, get more digested. I don't know, like activate the digestion or something like that. That's like kind of a really intricate science of the body, like something of that nature. So I would say I'm not that knowledgeable about the Ayurveda and the why they're eating with the hands, but that's the information I received briefly. So there's a wisdom behind all the things that they were doing in indigenous tribes, this wisdom, knowledge, and they were all being lost for many centuries and years. Through constant suppression and deletion is the word, for age of darkness experimentation conditioning. So with that, another thing that came was the borders. So as of now, we are living with borders, we're living with constant separation, right? This idea of identity in and of itself is separation, and it created such identification process. So I'm identifying myself as a Korean person, and the person that I received my drink from is the Vietnamese, and he's identifying himself as a Vietnamese person, and they identify me as someone different from who he is, that is a Korean person looking different, speak the different language, so we cannot communicate. So all this energy is coming through. So at this time, to cross borders, it's such a process, right? You have to go through security checks, you have to go through this and that, you have to prove, you have to identify, you have to show identification, and so on and so forth. And if you were born in a certain country, it's easier for you to cross borders. If you're not, then it's going to be much harder for you to cross borders and experience outside of borders. So there's a lot of subconscious fear created out of the separation and anxiety at this time. And about 2 weeks ago, when I was in Sydney, Australia, I had a dream. In my dream time, I start to see all these like ocean waves. big ocean waves, and the edge of the waves was on fire. So there was fire at the edge of the waves, and then it was all water and fire element together. And then I started to see all this like people rising up from the water. And then all of a sudden the energy of Lemuria came through, the energy of mermaid beings came through. And then I started to tap into the Akash of my Cleopatra timeline, which I shared a little bit in other videos, of how I started to remember all in divine timing. So I don't have the full memory, but all little bits and pieces in divine timing that I need for the information that I'm guided to share in that particular time. So what came was the burning of the library in Alexandria. So when I was guided to start from my journey in Egypt in 222 portal in 2022, I was called to visit Alexandria, and there was a reason why. And back then, I had no idea why I was feeling called to visit there. So what I got was suddenly that came through, and then I started to remember it was burned down intentionally. So it needed to be burned down because in the library there were vast amount of information of the wisdom and all these things, knowledge. But because as the Romans were about to take over the Egypt, at the time I was also in my sleep time. I was very much conscious. So I was trying to figure out, was it me in that lifetime, in the Cleopatra lifetime, who burned the library or who ordered to burn the library, and then it didn't come through. So I guess that information is not that important right now. But just the fact that it got burned down and it wasn't an accident. So it was divinely orchestrated and guided, just like a lot of the burnings of the churches and cathedrals that's happening to transmute the energy of that place. But that time it was to hide or keep that information sacred from being misused, being abused by certain figures or people in power at the time that was striving for centralized power to mishandle the information, misuse and manipulate the information. So that was the information that came through for some reason. And I started to connect more with the Alexandria energy. And so I didn't know what that was about specifically. I had a sense that it had to do with the merging, a lot of the union within energy of the divine masculine and divine feminine energies within ourselves that's going to manifest outwardly as well. And I talked and shared about that, from time to time in previous videos. And then I had forgotten about it. And then just yesterday, when I was guided to connect with all these different indigenous tribes, all these Polynesian countries like Solomon Islands, Samoa, Vanuatu, and there were like many different so-called countries that I didn't even realize existed, and also like all different continents, like indigenous tribes of Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, Nepal, like Hawaii. Energy of Hawaii has been very, very strong as they had me connect with the Lemurian energy constantly. And especially the Aztec indigenous tribes and all the Native American tribes that used to be in the land of Florida as of now, and all those regions, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Texas, California, all those areas. And some African tribes, some Persian dance, some Indian dance, all through the dance and singing, like Eastern Europe. So there are indigenous tribes and groups all over the continents. And as I was guided to listen to their music, the sound, the dancing, the beats, which was the energy frequency, and also the hula dance, it's not just a movement. There was a story behind each movement. There were symbols and energies that they were connecting to with each movement, and sound that was lost. And now we are reviving the sound, reviving this music. Once again, that music has been a big theme that I shared since I was received that message while I was in Osaka, I believe around March time this year. So we are reviving the new music, or the lost music, once again for the age of the light. And I was kind of studying all these different movements of the dances that were doing by the males and dances that were done by the females. And the females representing the divine feminine energy, more of very fluid, curvy, soft, gentle. And a lot of the movements were based on the hip area, like hula dance, moving of the hips. It's not just about this the Hawaiian dance, but in a lot of many different indigenous cultures, the females used to move their hips is to activate this energy of the sacral. And when I studied a lot of the movements of the male dancing, and I also was guided to connect with like person to person when I was in Malaysia. Their indigenous group dance, I saw them, and the drumming. I was guided to connect with that, like just in front of my eyes, physically for several times there, and other dances in like Indonesia and other countries that I was in before. And so a lot of the male movements are very straight lined, just like that energy of the masculine energy in the Ankh, this round representing the female womb, and the straight line representing the masculine. Is very like direct, straightforward. The female energy is more like round, going like this. So, and they use a lot of the shoulder movements, which is representing like sort of the head and this like area, shoulder, neck, like the Aries energies. So that was in line with that, what I had been seeing or experiencing in my dream time that was divinely guided. The waves with the fire, we are merging that divine masculine energy with the fire energy, and the divine feminine energy of the fluidity, the flowing. And that divine masculine energy was very strong, warrior, but to protect, stand in strength, but not to dominate, you see. And the feminine energy was very much complementing this masculine energy. offering a lot of softness, gentleness, light-heartedness, something of that nature. So that started to come through, and all this knowledge and wisdom that was also contained in that library of Alexandria. A lot of them were in there, and now we're reviving. That is constantly coming out for me to share. And that another big message that came was, at this time we are separated by land of this continent, that continent, and all these names were based on so-called Westerners or Europeans during the colonization era. That also anchor down certain energies of superior, inferior, of certain races. And with that, there had been a lot of sufferings and a lot of feeling not enough that was handed down from one generation to another, and the trauma energy from one generation to another from these indigenous tribes or the children of these indigenous tribes that are living now in the land of New Zealand or Australia as so-called Australian or New Zealander, but they don't feel like they belong anywhere. You see what I mean? So this identity has confused a lot of people nowadays, right? They feel lost inside because they feel like they need to fit in somewhere. That's the idea that we've been heavily conditioned with separation, boundaries, and borders. And when you don't fit in, you feel like you don't have a safe place to lean on. You see what I mean? Meaning the security, the root chakra energy. So our root chakra has been very much traumatized, is what is coming for me to share. So we constantly were conditioned to seek out, chase after some sort of comfort and security outside of us that would provide a sense of peace within. And we were conditioned and programmed to chase after that. They manipulated this psychology within us. And so we are constantly programmed to chase after something. And deep down, it's a sense of peace, sense of security, sense of safety. But it's all a false sense of these things. They're constantly selling us on these things. And we are on a subconscious level constantly feeling the need for validation, proof, just like borders. There are checkpoints reviewing you, checkpoints monitoring you, checkpoints, security points screening you, making sure you are approved, you have identification, all this about identity, right? That's creating so much fear and anxiety in the subconscious that we're not recognizing on a surface level. It is what is coming for me to share. So we've been living with this energy for so long in separation. And another thing is that was creating a lot of subconscious judgment within our mind, involuntarily, voluntarily. So it's like this. Right now at this time, if you look a certain way, if you have certain eye colors or hair colors or so-called this race or that race, you could be, and they had me see this one woman who was like on social media, and she said she's African, but she was kind of, I would say, very much reactive towards a lot of people saying that she looks like she's Indian, and she's constantly voicing that she's not Indian, she's 100% African. She ended up doing like the DNA test and proving and showing to people that she's not Indian. But what she discovered was that she was part Persian and African. So right now all this is going on, like you are this or you're that, you are and personally, as for me, I was born in Korea, and I lived in US during my teenage years, where I was heavily influenced by their programming and lifestyles and cultures. And then came back. I was very much confused, and at the time I feel like I didn't belong. I was different from my friends who grew up in Korea, and I didn't understand certain things that they experienced when they were in high school. And then also I wasn't fully like American. Also, unique situation was I was the only one in my high school. I was only Korean in my high school. So when I was even in New York, I was very much isolated from all the other Korean students or people. It was all on purpose. So I wasn't able to relate to other like Korean kids who went to stay in the States to spend their high school time there. Like it was all different. But what I also learned was that everyone had this identity crisis within, whether you are, it could be from border to border, or it could be from institution to institution within the nation as well. You could be a Korean or like Vietnamese here, and you never went to live off of your country or live abroad, but you always had the sense of not belonging here or something, and you didn't feel like you fit into the greater or the mass or something. That could be another identity crisis, so-called. We term that, right? And for a lot of children now, Korea has a lot of other national, so-called, like a lot of Russians and Southeast Asians and like Europeans. They lived in Korea for long, or they were born in Korea, or they had their mother was Korean or their father was Korean. Their other parent was from another country. And they speak Korean fluently, but they look different. And people identify them as not Korean, even though they are Korean, their mother is Korean, their father is African, or something like that. And this happens everywhere, right? And deep down, they feel like they don't belong. So for example, like in Japan, this girl was saying that her father is British and her mother is Japanese. She grew up here and she hated being in Japan when she was young because everyone would ask, "Where are you from?" But she considered herself Japanese, but all the other people around didn't see her as Japanese. And so this made her angry. And when she went off to UK, she didn't fit in there as well. And she's now back in Japan. And she starts to appreciate and she starts to accept. So that's like part of the journey, right? So it's all based on this separation, borders, and they had me see this like Korean travel show where this group of people were traveling in Bolivia, and then they went to this border. I believe it was like border of Bolivia and Peru, and then you could just walk to the other country. So they felt cool that they're in both countries at the same time. You see what I mean? That's the idea of borders and boundaries right now. And so they're like, this one guy was saying, oh my God, I thought it would be very scary. Oh, the borders are kind of scary, or that image, right? That there are like soldiers, security guards with guns, and you know, like they look scary and stern, authoritative, and all of that. But it was just very much open there, and you could walk in and out, in and out. So he took a photo by one leg being in the land of Bolivia, and the other one, like, that's the kind of idea that we think is cool right now, but that's all the byproduct of this borders and separation. That we forgot that we are all one, that we forgot that we could move around freely. At this time, there are a lot of restrictions, a lot of rules everywhere. And another thing is, we were being programmed to perceive one culture as more superior than the other culture. And especially with a lot of the Western, so-called Western European cultures at this time, right, for several centuries. That if you don't use forks and knife, if you use your hands to eat your food, you're being considered as savage, uncivilized, so-called, uncultured. And these represents what? Rules. You have to follow the rules. You have to look a certain way, look sophisticated. Otherwise, you're going to be judged as inferior. And they didn't want that, right? So that's another thing. And you could still enjoy your forks and knives, and, you know, like having that tea, like holding like this with the pinky out or something like that. I mean, for me, I like having this like full, like kind of afternoon tea setup, right? And enjoy, like, there's nothing wrong with that. But just that idea that one is considered superior and the other is considered inferior, and judging something over the other as better or worse, is the energy that we need to work on, is the whole point here of this sharing of the information. So you could enjoy eating certain foods with your hands without you fearing other people judging you. That means you judging yourself because of the programming. Also doing the opposite. And now at this time, because of this conditioning, we were taught to hate each other. There are protests, and they're going against each other, right? Very much so. They've been suppressed, oppressed. Now they're fighting against to oppress the oppressor, suppress the suppressor, and doing the same thing to each other. So these things are happening very heavily right now at this time, is what I'm going to share. And how we're going to connect is through the water, is what I'm going to share. And as I'm saying this, a very heavy Neptunian energy is coming through. And with this, we've been constantly programmed to find faults with others. That's the fault within yourself. So constant going into the mind of the analysis rather than heart-led with love, compassion, empathy, kindness, and all of the energy. We are going here. This is just like what I shared in the latest video, A, B, C, D, E. We are like typecasting in the order of the hierarchy. This is the superior, this is less, this is blah. Constantly on a conscious level here, trying to grade, to compare whether Vietnam is better than Thailand, or Thailand is better than Malaysia, Malaysia is better than Singapore, Singapore is better than Malaysia, or Korea is better than Japan, or Japan is better than Korea, or US is better than this and that, right? On a conscious, subconscious level, we're constantly being built to compare. And with this, they create so much this like kind of national pride, national identification, that, for example, like in China, how they usually take over another country or another tribe is through getting rid of their culture and recultivating them with their own culture. So in China, a lot of these small regional tribes became part of the bigger China, and what they've been doing over the years was to make the children, the younger generation, speak only Mandarin. So they are losing, they don't know how to speak their tribal language anymore. And now they're going off to big cities for schools, and they're just big part of the whole programming and part of the conveyor belt, right? Same with in Mongolia and all these other countries, as they so-called modernize, capitalize. So we are separated by land, but we are all connected through water. So we have to remember our essence is what I'm going to share. The water contained within our body is the same blood, or we all have this blood. Now we are fighting over, we are trying to prove, we get offended, or we try to defend whether I am this nationality, that nationality, or this identity, that identity. And I remember this one, they had me share this now, that there was this like American boy who grew up in Singapore or Malaysia, and so he speaks English, he has blonde hair, blue eyes, but he speaks with Singlish, so-called, that there's like a kind of an accent in Malaysia, like Singapore area, and certain intonation, and then they use a lot of la at the end. Okay la, I'm fine la, how are you? Like, I'm good la. Like, that's the kind of the language with the English that they use. And when they say thank you, they don't spell it out, they say TQ for something. So I didn't understand what that meant, but that's how they use it. So like, he has that culture, he carries that culture and mindset, but he just looks different. So when people see him on the outside, he's not Singaporean, but he may feel or feel connected to that culture than so-called where his ancestors are from, or other countries. But then when he's in Singapore, people may judge him by the way he looks due to all this conditioning of certain images. And also when he goes to back to States, when people hear him speak, it's different. So there may be a judgment, right? So this kind of idea of unbelonging has been one of the things that's tied to our root chakra, not feeling secure and safe. in the outside world constantly, that had been handed from one generation to another as well. So at this time, we are being called to find security within, the safety within, by recognizing, discovering who you really are, and rooting your home within, the temple within, that wherever you go, whoever you are with, wherever country you are in, you are safe and secure within yourself. So that's in part of transmuting fear with that energy of being centeredness, that the authenticity, that you know who you are, your authentic self, that you are unique, and we are not meant to fit in the first place. So with that, what's coming is the what Einstein said: if you judge a fish by how the fish is, like, was it up to climb a tree or something, he's going to feel or believe that he's stupid all his life. So that's the idea that we've been heavily conditioned with, that a lot of the times on a subconscious level we feel stupid, we are not enough, and I need to be perfect. And with that, we also project that onto other people and situations, judging each other. And with the water energy of tapping into, going into a heart space, feeling, sensing your inner self first and foremost, is very much important at this time, to unite, to remember that we are all connected. We're just playing these different costumes right now, and that our soul memory is coming back, right? You could have played, or you could have chose to play a different race or different culture, and you start to remember, oh, I was a Native American back then, but now this time I'm playing Korean, or I used to be Greek or Italian, now I'm playing Vietnamese. So with that, what also came was a very strong message of, like, the founding father energies, a lot of the freedom fighters in many different countries as we went through constant wars and conflicts. And what I received, like, when I had that big initiation in 2018, was like, I think a couple of founding fathers are now reincarnated at this time in Southeast Asian countries. So that came up once again a few days ago as a message, and then now we are moving from founding fathers to founding mothers, meaning not just like mother energy, but like energetically speaking, like energy archetype of the divine feminine. So that's why we were heavily working with divine feminine, rising, all these terms, right? It has nothing to do with gender, right? We all embody these energies, archetypes within, whether you're female or male, to remember that mother energy. The mother loves all their children, and embrace. And then leading with that softness, not just like straight shooting, but like with gentleness and with softness and with care and nurture. That's what we are reviving, especially very much of the Lemurian frequency that we're embodying and recultivating is the word that is coming, remembering, recalibrating. So that's what is coming up for me to share at this time, that we are all the same at large, but we just forgot. We forgot about the humanity as one, this being human. And we need to constantly go really deep within to look into these heavy programmings. So for example, like personally, whenever I go someplace new, I discover myself having this like unconscious judgment coming in about certain way of doing things or certain like stuff. So whenever I encounter my own self, having this like sort of deeply programmed this image coming up as judgment, like without me trying to harm someone, it's unharming, but like it's from thousands of years of programming that have been handed down. I always energetically tell myself that, you know, that visualizing that person or specific thing, please forgive me for judging you. Now I see, and then I also say, I forgive myself. So that way we are releasing these energies constantly. And that's something that you can also do whenever you find yourself doing so. And in that moment, I'm only grateful to recognize that moment and this give an opportunity for me to release this. So you don't need to harbor any feelings of guilt or shame. Just recognize and then forgive and ask for forgiveness, because you are sending out that energy of negativity towards someone or something or a situation without you even realizing at the time. But now that you are catching that, you are correcting it, you are rebalancing the energy out. And then with that, what you're discovering is the deeply rooted programming within you that came out to the surface for you to see and release. So in that moment, you're also freeing yourself by releasing yourself, by forgiving yourself for governing yourself with all these rules that you've been conditioned with, and these restrictions and limitations. So one by one, step by step, you are freeing yourself from all this limitation, meaning you are entering into more limitless realities or energetically speaking, or energies. You see what I mean? So that's something that you can do on a practical level if you resonate. So it helps when you go into a totally unfamiliar territory or culture. You become like a newborn baby. You get to see things from fresh eyes and perspectives, because you don't have any preconceived or accumulated knowledge. So that when you recognize something, or when there's a trigger, it helps you to release these parts of yourself that you've been holding on to in limitation, lack, and fear. So the water energy has the very much of that soft but very piercing power, just like it can crack open the rock, you see, and take over the entire land, or the ice, you see, freezes everything. So even though it appears gentle, it appears very soft, which had been very much underestimated with a lot of the strength and power within the divine feminine energy. In the age of darkness experimentation, it was perceived as somewhat of a weaker or weakness. You see, when you are kind, when you are soft-spoken, when you are a gentle person, when you're a sensitive soul, it was taken as a weakness to be taken advantage of, for example, right? But when a person aligns their divine masculine and feminine energies in balance within, you also harbor that divine masculine energy that's not wounded. So there's a warrior within you. There's that protective energy that you can stand up for yourself, and you can stand up for people who you need to protect, who you love dearly, right? That's the strength. And it's not that you don't know how to fight. You just choose peace, right? So that's the water energy, the waves with the fire at the edge. So you have the very sharp edge, and it's just not being activated, but it's within you. That fire is within you. So you're very much in your own center. Is a very much energy that we need to continuously embody and integrate at this time, is what I'm going to share. So that these are the rising leaders at this time, with the remembrance that there are no borders, that we are all one, because they have unified oneness within oneself first. Now they can help other people remember that they're not separated, that they're not torn all the time, they're not confused all the time. You see what I mean? The energy is all over the place from here and here. So that's the, you can bring these all separated energies back to, putting back to your center. And another thing is we're moving and transitioning from head-led or the mind-led to heart-led, whereas the compassion, kindness, generosity, empathy, love, unconditional love, from this analysis, comparison, competition, strategizing, all of this out of balance in the head to dominate, to win the game. Now we are bring that down. Here you're going to find a lot of faults with a lot of situations, people, problems, meaning also with yourself. You're harshly judging yourself with these as well. And we are bringing that down to open up this harsh space to approach yourself with more love, compassion, soft kindness, generosity, right? And that's going to also radiate out towards people around you, that you share this energy with people around you. So, like hurt people hurt, meaning what they need is not someone or a psychologist breaking them down, analyzing and testing them. Another typecasting, you are this and this and this and this, and you're diagnosed with ADHD, like this and this and this disorder, that disorder, you need to be fixed. We simply need more love, more joy, more compassion. And with that love, heals fear, heals humanity, heals soul, is a big message that is coming up for me to share. So we need more love in this world. We need more joy. We need more compassion in this world, rather than let me break you down to diagnose you and to fix you, to correct you. The underlying assumption is that there's something wrong with you in the first place. You see what I mean? That's the energy that we are constantly been living with. But when you are surrounded in love and unconditional acceptance, you start to heal yourself, because you start to feel safe. Your root chakra starts to balance out. And with that, other chakras, you have the space to go in and look into yourself without fearing your own self. You see what I mean? So that's that message of water. Waves of the water, it's all connected. And it moves in unison. You see? And your divine masculine energy allows you to allows your divine feminine energies within to move freely like that, because it's anchoring you down in a very safe, secure place within yourself, right? So we are being called to continue to release, look into our fears, release them, where you are looking for other people's validations constantly, or needing to prove yourself, or to please other people, or compare yourself. That's all judging within and then without. That's creating a lot of energy of hatred, right? At the end. Self-loathing deep down. You're not happy with how you are, who you are, how you look, how you appear, this and that and this and that. Therefore, you're very much conscious of the same thing. You assume that other people will see you the way you see yourself. You see what I mean? It goes hand in hand. So that's a big message that is coming that we need to work with, embody at this time. So I'm going to, this energy is coming through my heart portal for me to help you open your heart up in a very safe place at this time. This light codes transmission. Utukua kaia ta kikiaia ta kikiaia ka kaia ta kia ka ukukua kaia ka ikikia ka ua ka kakia ta ka ua ta kikiaia ta ka kaia ta ka ua ta kaia ta ka utukua kaia ta ka ua. Remember, you've been playing different roles and different nationalities and identities and wearing different costumes of different races and different tribes and different cultures. Now you're merging, remembering your essence, remembering that we're all connected. This is all just a part of a game for your soul evolution. We are one. And we are all unique at the same time. Therefore, we respect, honor each other's uniqueness, and with that we allow one to be oneself. We allow one to shine their unique radiance, or allow and help them to be unique and authentic. Allow them to express who they are fully. So all our chakras are activated and balanced, right? That's the ascension. Ascension is not happening outside, it's within you. Uatakai atakakau atakikiai akaki atakaku akaki akikiai atakakau. Remember that you're a beautiful flower that's unique, one of a kind in this world. The needing to fit in was a game. Now remember who you are. Go back to your essence. You're not meant to fit in the first place, right? Remember, remember, remember. Utukuakai atakakaua. Ikikiakaua. Atakaua. It's okay. It's okay, you're safe to remember and be all that you are as you are. It's okay. Utukuakai atakaki atakakoua. Huayaka. Huayaka. Huatakai atakakai akakaia. Okay, so I hope this transmission also helped you in clearing out some of the energies and bring your headspace and all this thinking mind to your heart center, to remember, to feel soft and gentle again, to tap into your love within again, to allow your life to flow easier. no longer in too much struggle all the time. That was created by all our conditioning, all these blockages that we perceive outside was created from within. And as you release, as you love more, everything flows easily, more effortlessly. So I hope this message helped and this transmission also helped. And with that, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye. Remember to smile.